Were you born in Greenville? How are you from here?
Greenville, Mississippi is my hometown.
Mm-hmm.
I was born here in '65. Been here ever since. Well, I went away to college, and I've spent some short periods of time in my life, other places to study or something. But my permanent residence has always been in Mississippi.
Close by? You grew up close by?
I grew up north of Greenville and out in the country, out on off the highway, and so I didn't have a lot of playmates. My cousins lived next door, and so all of that family, everybody in our family had somebody kind of close to their age, so we had somebody to hang around with out there. But for the most part, we didn't have, we weren't in a neighborhood.
Okay.
So.
Was music already part of your life as a kid, or?
Well, my mother, when she was in her late teens, she was singing with a big band in Jackson, Mississippi, and then she went to New York and did some singing there, and she worked in Chicago at a club called the Chez Paris. So I think she sort of fancied being in the entertainment business herself. And my dad is a music lover, so we always had guitars around, and we always had a piano in the house. And, music was kind of a part of family life on holidays, or sometimes after supper we would pass the guitar around and play guitar and sing a lot of old country songs like Hank Williams songs, or there's a fellow who was born not far from here in Isola, Mississippi, named Hank Cochran, one of the great country writers, and we'd sing those kinds of songs, like blues, 3-chord songs.
Okay, yeah, so similar. So your mom was traveling a lot for
No,
her music career, or?
No, she wasn't really a traveling musician, but she came up during the 50s is when she grew up, really. And, during that time, couples would go out to dances on the weekends. And so she was singing with one of these dance bands. So they were singing, they were playing, and she was singing swing music, songs like I Only Have Eyes for You, or, that kind of couples dancing, nightclub dance music.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Was she singing at home too?
Well, she, once she had a family, she sang for us, and then she did some community theater. My mom did, but music was always important, just on a personal level. As entertainment. Growing up out in the county, we didn't have a lot of TV reception. I mean, we got a few little stations on the TV, and we'd listen to the radio. But my dad had an old reel-to-reel. And so he could record, I guess this must be before cassette tapes came out. He could record us singing, and so we would record ourselves, or he would record my mother singing with other people in the community. And my dad loved to play the guitar. Seems like all of his friends and all of the friends that they hung out with played guitar and sang, and people would get together and have sing-alongs. So I grew up in that kind of household where music was just sort of after dinner you'd say, play something on the guitar, or go play something on the piano or whatever, like.
And that's you, and you had siblings that were busy with music too, or interested in music, or?
Yeah, I have 2 sisters and a brother, and everybody knows how to play the guitar, and everybody took piano lessons. I stuck with the piano more than the rest, though everybody else kind of more stayed with the guitar. I didn't really excel with the guitar so much. I had an accident with one of my hands, and is the left hand the chording hand on the guitar. So that might be, I had to have surgery on my hand to so I could move my
When
middle finger.
when you were a kid?
Yeah, I was about 8 or 9 years old when it happened. I was in a fight with my brother, and we were fighting. I was chasing him. I was gonna get him because he had bothered me. You know, nothing. It wasn't really supposed to be terribly vicious, but I'm sure I was mad at the time. 8-year-old mad, and so I was running after him, and when he shut the door, my hand went through the window, and so I had to have surgery on my hand, and I think that's probably why I didn't stay with the guitar. My hand was disabled for a while, and then it had to heal, and then the guitar is just more difficult for me because of that, I think.
It didn't keep you from playing piano though, because I mean it's a left hand, but it's still.
Right, but you know I play a lot of boogie.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not really. I mean, I studied piano. I can play scales and stuff, but just I don't know. Plus, maybe the piano's just easier.
No, well, I'm not
Or
sure
for me
about
anyway.
that, but yeah. At what age did you start taking piano lessons?
I started taking piano lessons when I was 5, but you know we had a piano in the household, and so my brother and sister are older. Then I also have a younger sister, and my brother and sister were taking piano before I was, because I started at 5, but they were already in lessons, and you know I was kind of knocking around playing their things. I could hear what they were playing, and it was very simple, I'm sure, but I was playing it too. That's why my parents insisted that the teacher take me on,
Okay.
even though I was younger than a lot of piano teachers at the time wouldn't take students that were just beginning school. They, you know, and our hands are small at that age.
So was that like private lessons or a music?
Oh yeah, just lessons at a lady's house. Miss Molly Schwartz was her name.
Okay.
And so I took lessons with her for probably a good 10 years or something. Yeah.
But you had a classical education. I mean.
Yeah, you know, I was playing, classical greats like Mozart and Beethoven.
Yeah.
And Chopin. I did all of that, and then went on to study the classical greats in college too.
Okay.
But I always liked more popular styles of music, and being from Mississippi, you know, I think I leaned more toward blues. And with my dad's, one of my dad's favorites is Big Bill Brunsey. And you know, a lot of that music is what I grew up listening to here. I mean, it's kind of what they played at the blues festival a long time ago. You know, Eugene Powell would be there, and Son Thomas, and Sam Chapman. You know, before that, although I don't think I was going to the blues festival then, but you know, Sam Chapman was from Hollandale, and so this is the kind of music that I was exposed to from the great people who lived here. Mm-hmm. So I think I had an inclination to get into the blues. Plus, it's freer than classical.
I'm sorry.
It's just a little more free than classical music.
Yeah. And what about country? Because, I mean, that was another thing that was available, and to me it looks like more obvious that you would go in that direction instead of blues music. Or is that...
You know, I'm not really sure why. Maybe I just liked blues better.
Okay.
You know, maybe I like the feel of blues better. Maybe my own personal rhythm is bluesier. I'm not sure, but you know, even now when I play country music, it seems more bluesy than country. So I think my natural tendency is to kind of swing the beat instead of making a straight, kind of like a rock and roll beat. And maybe this is because of the fella that I studied with, Boogaloo.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why. But
Yeah.
I mean, certainly I like country music. And I don't think maybe also because my voice, I don't think my voice really is that great of a country voice. It's okay, but you know, like my sister Jessica, can sing country great, and she can break her voice like Patsy Cline did, and like Leanne Rimes does. You know, she can do that thing with her voice where she goes into a high register and something happens in her voice where it's almost like yodeling. And I can't make that sound. So maybe that's why I liked blues. And my younger sisters, they have higher pitched voices too than me. When the three sisters sing together, as we do sometimes, I always take the low part. So
how did how did you manage to get that? Because the people that you mentioned as blues artists that you know are all guitar players,
right.
and you play the piano. How
Right.
did that transition go before you met Boogaloo?
You know, I don't know. Really at the time that I met Boogaloo, I think I was probably listening to more blues than I was playing it. When I first met Boogaloo, I was probably playing more jazz music.
Okay.
And you know, B.B. King, who I would have seen a lot of times here because he came home every year and did a free concert.
Yeah, the
stuff.
homecoming.
You know, the people that he worked with, a lot of them, the piano players and the guitar players that he would hire in his band, and the horn players too, were jazz musicians. So I guess I kind of got into it from the side door.
Okay.
You know, I listened to a lot of blues though, and I used to love to go to the blues festival here. I don't know why there weren't as many piano players here. I mean, I'm sure there must have been. I just never did meet them.
Okay.
Besides Boogaloo.
Yeah. So when did that happen?
I met him when I was I first met him when I was 16, but I didn't start working with him until I was about 18.
Where did you meet him?
He played a lot of parties and things, and so he played at my sister's wedding reception when I was 16 years old. So that's probably the first time I met him.
Tell me something about him, because I mean, I know him, but I think a lot of people in Europe never heard about him.
Yeah.
Even.
Well, all right.
Who was he? What did he do? Yeah.
Yeah. Boogaloo was born in the South, and then his family moved to Detroit when he was a teenager, I think, and so he, sometime in the 40s, he had not the 1940s. He had his own band, and so I've got a couple of photographs of him with his big band, or a combo. You know, say 7 or 8 pieces, and then and he did some work later. You know, he was working through the 40s and the 50s. Excuse me.
In Chicago.
In Detroit.
In Detroit. I'm sorry.
In Detroit. Yeah. And the other suburb, the most northern suburb of Mississippi.
Yeah.
Besides Milwaukee. He was based out of Detroit, but I'm sure he did a lot of traveling. You know, I don't really know exactly where, because by the time I met him, it was in the 1980s, and he, you know, I guess I didn't really ask him, where did you travel? I mean, I think he just sort of traveled all over like people did. But at the time, he wouldn't have had to travel that much because he had gigs in Detroit. And then in the mid-'60s, when Berry Gordy was getting Motown together, I know he did some session work over there. You know, Berry Gordy did a lot of rehearsals. And so I'm not sure if Boogaloo is on any of the recordings. It's possible that he is on some of those. I don't know. But Berry Gordy rehearsed avidly, you know, and so the people that he was recording were in the studio rehearsing and working on stuff all the time. So he had quite a few musicians that he depended on to precipitate all of that rehearsing. And I know Boogaloo did some work there. But then at some point, Boogaloo fell in love with another woman besides his wife. And her mother got sick here in Mississippi, and so Boogaloo, she came to Mississippi to see after her mother, and not too long after that, Boogaloo followed her here, and he never went back to Detroit.
Okay.
So that you know, and he and his wife never divorced, but he considered himself married to this other woman, even though they didn't bother to go to the courthouse or the preacher or anything. He just stayed with her until she passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I met him, that was Gracie. But by the time I met him, Gracie had passed on too. And
Mm-hmm.
I met Boogaloo, he was in his 60s. I don't know exactly what, mid-60s I would say, probably.
Okay. At a house party? The first time,
Well,
or?
I met him probably at my sister's reception.
Okay.
But, you know, I was young, and I'm sure I wouldn't have thought to talk to the musicians. It was only after I saw him time and time again that I finally became friends with him. You know, I got to know him a little bit. You know, being a young person, I wasn't so eager to approach an older person.
Mm-hmm.
Until I got to know him a little, and then, you know, I was a fan of his, and so then I guess he got to know me too, because I would always go hear him when he was playing. Fortunately, back then, you didn't have to be 21 years old to get into a club, so I would go hear him play. Well, a lot of the places he played were kind of restaurants too, not just bars, but you know, I'd go hang out and listen to him play, and he played at Lillo's here, that's right around here. It's in Leland, Mississippi. He played there every Thursday, so I heard him there a lot. And he played at the Marina Cafe, which was on the water. It's not here anymore, but that's a place that I heard him a lot. And he played at the Yacht Club. And then, like I said, almost any time somebody would have a social event, a cocktail party or a birthday party or whatever, Boogaloo would be playing. And
What was it that attracted you to his music? I mean, because he wasn't the only musician around here, and I cannot imagine the only piano player. What was special about him? What did you...
Well, just you know, everybody loved him, and the way he played, he did a lot of boogie, and the way he played made people smile and laugh and tap their feet, and people like to dance to his music. I mean, I've got a photograph of him playing on somebody's houseboat. They moved a piano to this, you know, like a pontoon type boat, but they're having a party and he's sitting there playing the piano on the thing.
Cool.
So, you know, he loved to have a good time himself.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's what attracted me to him. I mean, I don't know. He was available. Everybody loved him, and I did too. You know, I thought I was just going to get him to teach me how to play. It never really occurred to me that it was going to develop into a lifelong friendship like it did. I didn't know that he was going to be so generous with his time.
How did that happen? I mean, did you just walk up to him and ask him, could you teach me piano? Or
I did. But, you know, this was after I had known him for a while.
Okay.
And gone to see him a lot. And, you know, I'd go see him and make a request and give him a tip. And of course, he knew my family because my family attended some of these social functions. And so, yeah, I just asked him, and he agreed to teach me. And then, you know, he taught me for a number of years, and then it kind of developed into a little duo. People in the community, I think, because I knew him very well, and Boogaloo would move. He always rented properties, so he would move from place to place, and I always knew how to get a hold of him. So I think people started kind of counting on me to bring him to the party and stuff, because he was moving around, and sometimes he didn't live in the best neighborhood, so that intimidated certain people.
But not you.
Well, no, because everybody looked after Boogaloo, because everybody loved him, and so nobody would let anything happen to the person who was supposed to be picking him up. Yeah, it, you know, things aren't as bad as people perceive them to be.
Okay. How did that work out? The duo pianists? I mean, you don't hear those things too much nowadays. I mean, did you travel with two pianos? Did you play it on the same piano? I mean,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
musical concept of
Right,
two
right.
pianos at the same
No,
time
no,
is
no.
not as...
Mostly I sang with Boogaloo.
Okay.
Mostly I would sing because Boogaloo didn't do a lot of singing. You know, I used to say that he taught me how to play and I taught him how to sing. Because when I first met him, I don't recall him doing any singing at all.
Okay.
You know, and they would have him perform at the blues festival or something. He would usually be playing with someone else. He'd be accompanying somebody, I don't know who, T Model Ford or whoever. Sometimes it was very unlikely duos they would put together. But you know, then he started singing some songs when on the shows that we did together.
Okay. So, but you played piano with him too, as a duo piano?
Well, so we would do certain little four hands on one piano kind of thing.
Okay.
A few little things like that, but not so many. Mostly he was my teacher and kind of like my accompanist when we would go out and do a party or a festival or something. Usually I was singing with him, and then, you know, I would let him sing and play his own thing too, but
would you consider yourself at that time a piano player or a singer?
yes, I was always a piano player, but I just
Yeah.
wasn't as good as Boogaloo. I still ain't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe by the time I get to be the age he was when I met him, I'll be as good.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
Don't ask for it.
Yeah, he just was so natural. And physically, he was capable of doing things that I'm not physically capable of doing. He could, for
Stretch his
example,
hands.
he could walk tenths with his left hand, and for any of you piano players, you'll know what that means. You know, walking tenths, it sounds beautiful, but when I do it, I have to steal at least one finger from my right hand to do it. Walking bass, it just sounds so great.
Well, I think it's kind of clear that he's one of your biggest influences on piano playing. Is he the only one? Or
Probably.
Really? I don't know.
Well, yeah, probably, because I spent so much time with him, and so now I sort of think like he taught me. Even if I hear someone else play something, it's harder for me to learn something else. Now, just recently, I did a show where I was asked to perform Rocket 88. Ike Turner.
Yeah.
Ike Turner plays a beautiful left hand with that, but that took me quite a while to get that down because it's very different than anything Boogaloo showed me. So
Okay.
I tried it and I did it, but it wasn't.
But I mean, it doesn't
natural.
mean, I'm pretty sure it doesn't mean that you stopped developing as a piano player when you stopped playing with Boogaloo.
I wouldn't say I stopped developing. I would say, you know, I took what he gave me and kind of did my own thing with it.
Yeah, that's
You know,
developing.
probably. I mean, I still listen to other people, but I don't think I've ever, other than that, like Rocket 88. Normally, if I'm learning somebody else's song, I don't try to play it exactly like they do. You know, normally I'm not trying to learn other people's licks and stuff. Not usually. So, you know, sometimes if I hear something that interests me, I might work on a different bass line that I hear somebody do. But for the most part, I might listen to somebody play something and just do what I want to with it. Because if I'm listening to somebody play it already, they already did it like that. So if somebody wants to hear me do it like that, maybe they should just listen to the original one. I think it's better if I do it my way, and that way there's two ways to listen to a song, not just one.
There's a question that a lot of people ask me a lot when I'm playing music, and there's like two sides of it, of course. It's about the authenticity of the old blues music. and you have a certain group of people that say, well, you need to be respectful for it and do it as good as you can, but do it the same way, you know, like, and then you have other people that say, well, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's living material. You can do whatever you want to do with it as long as it fits you. It's fine. Where are you in that debate? I mean,
I think the preservation of the art form is important, and I think it would be a shame if nobody ever played like Son House again. So I'm glad that people do that.
okay,
But I'm also grateful that somebody does something new so I can be, you know, it's hard to be surprised over and over again at the same thing.
True.
And so it's nice to hear new people doing new stuff. But, you know, there's a lot of people that are honoring the art form in a really nice way. And so I don't think there's any danger of that. I don't think there's any danger of that disappearing anytime very soon. You know, well, there's just a lot of good people. There's little Joe McLaren just moved up to Clarksdale, Mississippi, and he plays in an authentic way and honors the history beautifully. And John Tavius Willis does the same thing. But then again, you know, you've got newer people that are kind of melding, like Kingfish seems to be melding sort of an older sound. Like his voice almost sounds pretty sort of like B.B. King, but, you know, his guitar playing is newer, more like Joe Bonamassa or something. Mm-hmm. You know, it's got a rock and roll edge to it. So I think there's room for everything. There's room for all of it. I'm not a purist.
okay.
But I appreciate that people are preserving
Okay.
the pure art form, certainly.
Do you still play the guitar too?
I play the guitar some. I'm not virtuoso. I mean, I'm not embarrassed by my playing either, but it's pretty simple.
Okay. Okay. Mostly at home, or do you
I
play it on
don't
gigs too?
perform on the guitar. I mean,
Okay.
there's been a couple of times when I've played a song or two at a performance, like if the electricity went out and I had my digital,
Yeah.
and I had to play the guitar. I've done that, but I don't know enough. It's just so easy to play the piano because I know what I'm doing, and on the guitar I really don't. I can't find the chords.
Yeah.
You know,
Cool.
it's, yeah. I'll let my little sister Bronwyn plays the guitar, and both my sisters write. So if I want to listen to some guitar,
You can.
I'll ask them to do it.
Okay. Good. How do you write your own music? How does that process go? I mean, how does it happen with Eden Brent?
Well, sometimes I just get inspired by an idea. I'll just be putting out a new album, and my husband helped me write some of these things. And I mean, in fact, I think he was kind of ready for me. He was sort of ready for me to make a new album, so he wrote a couple of things and said, "Hey, why don't you try this?" You know. And in fact, he started most of the songs on the album. There's a few that I started, but more of them he started just, I think, to try to get me motivated. Usually I come up with an idea first, and then, you know, I'll try to find something that I haven't done before. You know, I'll try to find a bass line or a melody, or try to find something that I haven't done over and over again.
And that's
something different.
It starts with the music.
Well, it might start with a line like, I can't think of a line right now. Yeah, it might just start with one line, and a melody, and then I'll maybe try to see how that melody would fit into a groove, and then so then I'll get a groove going, and the bass line, or what is it? Is it going to be Latin feeling? Is it going to be straight like rock? Is it going to be rumba sounding like New Orleans sounding, or boogie sounding, or gospel?
What is your music? I mean, your original music. How do I have to describe it? Is it boogie? What is it? Is it blues? Is it?
I guess it's just maybe blues in the broader sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the music I hope to write and perform is something that you might hear Marcia Ball do, or something that you might hear Etta James do, or the people that I like to listen to.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So, and like Marcia Ball, for example, she does a lot of kind of New Orleans sounding stuff, or Dr. John. So I when I'm putting a set together, or if I'm trying to put an album together, usually I try to not do all just straight blues songs. But this album that I'm just about to put out is probably bluesier than anything I've ever done.
Tell me about it. Is it all original material?
This is all originals.
Good.
Yeah. And I've never done just a very, very, very slow blues. And there is a very slow blues on here. So that's kind of fun. I think I haven't ever done a slow blues before because unlike electric guitar, when you've got an electric guitar, you can set your amp a certain way where a note can be sustained.
Mm-hmm.
And with the piano, you can't sustain. And I'm not really an organ player. So I think I haven't done a lot of slow blues because you have to do a lot of repeated notes in order to get that same sustained effect. But these songs came together well with a lot of great help from my husband Bob Dowell, and I'm glad I did it. It was nice to do something new again, and try new things.
Is it going to be a piano album, or is it with a band? Or?
There's just 4 pieces.
Okay.
All of the songs have 4 pieces, so there's no solo songs. And some of the records I've done in the past, I just one song on the record might just be guitar or something. But so this is an electric guitarist and a bass player and a drummer and me on piano, and I did some Wurlitzer and a couple on the Fender Rhodes.
Cool.
So all me. Bob, my husband Bob, did play piano on one, or actually I should say keyboard, Wurlitzer maybe. So there's one kind of funk song on it, and there's a real slow blues, and there's a sort of a boogie that starts it, which is sort of fun.
What's going to be the title of it?
The title of it is Getaway Blues.
Cool. That's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah,
and when
it's
is it going to be out? The recordings are done already?
The recording is finished, yeah. We recorded in London. Bob, my husband, is from London, and we got invited to a party there. And so we just thought, while we were going to there anyway, why don't we put the band back together? Anyway, we just decided to do a couple of days in the studio, and so Bob and I did a lot of practice here, getting the songs together because they're original, and then we just met the guitar player and the drummer over there, and Bob plays bass on the record.
Yeah, Bob plays about every instrument
He
that
does.
you give him, I think.
Yeah, I married up. Yeah, he plays bass on this one, and so it's just a 4-piece. It's pared down. It's something that I can easily reproduce live.
And you're planning on doing that too? I mean, you're going to travel with a band, or what?
That's what I'm hoping to do.
Okay.
That's the plan so far. But right now I've only got a couple of gigs, so everybody be on notice. I have my suitcase packed and I'm ready to go.
There you go. So, what kind of gigs are you playing now, or in the How long ago is it that your last CD came out?
Well, we did a Christmas record.
Okay.
But other than the Christmas record, it's been 10 years. So
what you
exciting.
been doing in the meantime musically? I mean, not recording, but
no, just just playing, learning new stuff. I like to learn. I'm particularly drawn to songs that only women perform.
okay.
You know, songs that deal with women's issues and and from the female point of view. So like one of the songs that I'm still learning, and I've only heard two different people do it, so I'm not sure who did the original like the one I'm doing, but it's a very long song called the Keyhole Song. You had the right key, but you've been sticking it in the wrong keyhole. And this is an old song, but these lyrics are much newer. For instance, there's a little place in the verse where it talks about call waiting. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, clicking over to the other line or having a three-way call, that's a reasonably new concept. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think we've probably had that capability since, what, the 1980s?
Yeah,
or something. So
mm-hmm.
so somebody has added to this. So a woman from Memphis named Diane Price, she's the first person that I ever heard do this song. But there's so many lyrics, I'm having a hard time remembering them all. I've performed pieces of it, but I've never been able to perform the whole thing because there's so much to remember. Let's see, and then Charmaine Neville has done most of the words that I've heard before. So I'm not sure who to credit all these fabulous lyrics to. And I've changed up some of it, just to suit me. But so I've been learning new stuff like that, and I still do the Blues Cruise.
Okay.
The legendary Rhythm and Blues Cruise. I do that.
That starts
usually about once a year anyway. They have two ships sailing throughout the year. Yeah, they have two trips.
Is that the one that crosses the ocean?
This is at bluescruise.com.
Okay.
The legendary Rhythm and Blues Cruise is the name of it. And so they just do a week. It's a week-long blues festival on a ship. They sail out of Fort Lauderdale, or they've done some trips out of San Diego. They've done a trip out of New Orleans, I think, one time. And
have you been playing Europe?
I have done a few little festivals and things in Europe, but I haven't done a tour of Europe since probably 8 years ago or something. So
okay.
I'm hoping to get back into touring. My dad got sick, and he's still here, but he was going through chemo and stuff, and so I kind of slowed down. And then Bob moved here, and so Bob was getting kind of situated, and he did an album, and he did a great jazz concert here in town, and so I don't know. I've learned to cook during the pandemic, so I've been busy doing other things besides music. But music is still my first love. Bob's my second love.
Sometimes you need to be happy with that.
Oh yeah, well, but since he's such a great musician, I can put him there tied with music now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good. If I say, you obviously been soaking up blues music all your life. What does it mean to you personally, the music? What does it bring you? A career, of course, but I'm talking
the career,
on a personal level.
I've always liked to write, you know, when I was in school, I always loved my creative writing class, and I've always, you know, I've always enjoyed language and self-expression, finding a new way to say something Shakespeare said, because you know the feelings that we have, I think, are pretty universal, and we just keep trying to find new ways of expressing those same feelings that probably the cavemen had, and cave women. The cave women were probably writing songs like I'm singing. So yeah, I just enjoy the expression, and I enjoy giving people some kind of a vehicle for their own heartaches or joys. You know, there's times that I perform a song and somebody might send me an email or come up to me after a performance and say, "Oh my goodness, you know, you wouldn't believe what I'm going through right now. That song really touched me." And it's, I think you know, aside from being able to pay the bills, you know, being able to offer that kind of communication to someone else who's going through something, because I know certainly for me, music has been a big part of me getting through the hardships in life, just my own personal struggles, or you know, reading a great book and recognizing something that is affecting my life in the book that I'm reading. So that's the part I think that I love about it the most, and the fact that you're able to share this with other musicians too. You know, being on stage with somebody or in a rehearsal room with somebody, and you know, all of a sudden they're answering you back. You know, the communication you can have with the other musicians. So it's just another way of having a conversation too. I think that's really what I love. It's a conversation with the audience. They are able to give you something back, then the other musicians too. So that's what I love about it.
Boogaloo would be happy if he saw you?
I think so. I would, yeah, I would imagine so. I think he was pretty proud of me at the time that he passed away.
Do you still use your, as an artist name, Little Boogaloo?
Little Boogaloo. Oh, well, I
Or
tell
is
you,
that,
I don't. I mean, it's not, my company is Little Boogaloo Entertainment.
Okay.
And my publishing company is Little Boogaloo Music. So I still use that. And I like it when, it's a nickname. So, so like, you know, some of the people who deal with me professionally will refer to me as Little Boogaloo, which really makes me very happy. You know, it makes me happy because I feel like it's honoring his memory and just the terrific positive influence he had in my life.
Nice. I want to ask you something about young musicians in Europe, because I mean I'm living part-time in America, so they think I'm seeing a lot of people, and they ask me, ask those guys, what should I do here in Europe? How can I be able to play those songs? You know, what do I need to do as a starting musician? What do I need to pay attention on? So I mean, as far as piano playing goes, if you have a young piano player in Europe and he wants to play the blues, he wants to be little Eden Brent, I don't know. What does he practice? How does that happen?
Well, you got to start with the left hand.
Okay, that's good.
You gotta, you know, I practiced a lot with my left hand. Boogaloo would show me something with the left hand. I would learn it separately, and then, I didn't realize until I started playing blues that all the stuff with the right hand is almost just the icing on the cake. All of the little tickling the keys you hear piano players do is not nearly as important as keeping the rhythm going with your left hand. Now, if you're working with a band, that's totally different. You don't have to use so much left hand, but you know, excuse me. I would say listen. You know, listening is probably more important than playing. If you listen to somebody else and then you try to mimic what they do, but then you know once you're in a situation where you're with other musicians, a lot of people tend to play too much, and they don't really listen enough.
Mm-hmm.
People are so excited to play, and I can totally relate to that because I love it myself. But sometimes I have to stop myself and say, "Whoa, wait! You know, let's let the guitar player have a chance to be heard, or let's let the harmonica player have a chance here. You know, I don't need to be trying to play everything I know all at once." So I'd say listening. You know, if you're able to spend time with somebody, if you have somebody that you love that you're able to spend time with, that's a great way to learn. Stop them and say, "Hey, can you show me that? Show me what you just did." And you know, just learn a little. I just learned when I learned from Boogaloo. I just learned little pieces, and now I put them all together. So,
Was your classical training necessary to start learning from Boogaloo? Would it have been different if you didn't play piano at all when you met him?
oh, definitely, yeah.
And in what way?
Yeah, I mean, you know, because I already had some dexterity.
Okay.
You know, if you're an absolute beginner, fortunately, the piano is not. You know, there's a lot of things that are pretty easy. You know, you can learn a sort of a left hand groove that pretty simply. And if people, you know, the thing I love about blues is not just the playing, but the singing part. And if you like to sing, you certainly don't have to. You don't have to do a lot to perform a blues. I mean, I've seen Bobby Rush, and other people too, but take a harmonica, and play a line, and then sing a line, and then play a line, and then sing a line, and you can do the same thing with any instrument. Mm-hmm. You can, you know, play some kind of bass riff on a guitar or on a bass, and then sing the line of the song. You know, kind of a call and response thing. So I'd say just start simply. Blues is simple. If you want to learn it, it wouldn't be that hard if you just listen to some others and kind of mimic a little of what you hear, and then eventually you make the song your own song.
That's going to be good news for a lot of people in Europe.
Well, and you know, there's some. I was just contacted by. This year, I was contacted by somebody in France, and I'm trying to think where it was that they were doing a week-long blues school, and I think they still do one in Clarksdale annually. So you can find places like that to learn. I wanted to do the thing in France, but I couldn't make it work out right now because I didn't have any other dates. I couldn't. Transporting, getting over there was going to be so expensive, and I didn't have other concert dates. So please, people, if you have an event in Europe, my husband and I, or even just I, would love to travel. Yeah, I want to move around some more now.
Okay.
I love Mississippi, and if y'all don't mind traveling, you can come to Mississippi, and I might still be here.
Talking about I might still be here, it's a question that I have for everybody that I interview. If this is all done, we're all dead, what would you like to be remembered as?
If I die tomorrow, what do I want people to remember about me? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. What's your legacy? I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Funny.
Okay.
I'd like to be remembered as a funny little boogaloo. You know, I don't know. Just Yeah, I guess I'd like to be remembered as somebody who plays and sings and tried to carry Boogaloo's tradition. I hope, really, to meet somebody who likes my music and wants to copy me like I wanted to copy Boogaloo and really pass it on to one other person. I would really love that if that happens. That would be great. I don't know who that would be, but you know, it seems like there's not as many people playing instruments now. Mm-hmm. You know, people play with their phone. There's other things to do. You know, all kind of games and stuff, and people look at their phone all the time now. And I mean, it's great to have such access, to be able to access all the songs. Not maybe every song ever recorded, but a lot, most of them, with just right there on the phone. That's a luxury that I certainly didn't have when I was growing up. So we have a lot of access, but fewer instruments. You would not believe the number of people that have called me and said, I've got to get rid of this piano. Do you know anybody who wants a piano? I mean, I could have a house full of free pianos right now, but I already have two. Mm-hmm. Well, more than that if you count the electric ones. And you know, pianos are kind of big and heavy.
Yep.
So
it is.
Yeah, I hope that some young people are continuing to play. I mean, I'm always so uplifted when somebody like Kingfish or Cedric Burnside, who's a little bit older, but not a lot, but you know, I'm always so uplifted when these younger people are picking up the blues and going with it. It makes me feel like there is something, you know, that there is a continuity to this music that I feel like is so important. Not just because I feel like it sort of belongs to Mississippi in a large way, but I feel like it's the world's music. That's my daddy.
There you have your guy.
Oh yeah, it's Europe calling. I'm sorry.
Okay. There we go.
I'm always so uplifted when I see the young people picking it up, because you know, people are calling me now asking me if I want to teach piano lessons. Mm-hmm. And you know, I would love to teach piano lessons, but I don't think I'm the best person to teach an absolute beginner. Mm-hmm. I've been doing it so long, it'd be like trying to teach somebody how to speak English. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to teach that. Mm-hmm. I don't have any experience in teaching an absolute beginner how to play the blues. But for somebody who knows how to play a little bit and who knows the names of the notes and stuff like that, certainly I would love to teach somebody.
Cool.
It's a lot of fun to watch the delight when people are able to play a boogie woogie or something, because it's very fun music. I mean, you asked me why I wanted to learn from Boogaloo, and that's really it. Boogaloo above so many others, because his music was so delightful. There's no, you know, some people think of the blues as a sad thing, and I mean, I guess it can be, but it has brought me much more laughter than tears.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have the impression that we covered most of it, or do you have some things that you still want to include in the interview that I didn't ask you about?
I can't really think of anything.
Well, then I did a good job, I guess. And
you must have done a good job. Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't know what people want to hear.
Well, I don't know. You talked a little bit about your CD, the new CD. Is there anything else that you want to say about it? Or, I mean, we have to, where can people buy the CD?
You know, it'll be available at all the regular outlets. EdenBrent.com, of course.
Okay.
And, you know, I don't know where people get music these days.
Is it going to be available on Amazon?
Absolutely.
Good.
Yeah, you know, all those places
platforms
where people usually find music.
Okay.
You know, as a young person, my first job was working in a record store.
Cool.
And I loved it because I got 40% off. That's almost half off, 40%. So I have, it really came in handy. And a lot of my first blues records I bought then. Probably the very first Robert Johnson that came out on LP, the 33 and a third, not
the CD version.
not the 78 version that spun real fast.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing that came out probably in the late 70s or maybe early 80s, I don't know when that collection came out. And then, later they did that box CD set where they released everything that Robert Johnson ever did.
Even the second
So,
takes,
all that stuff out, and it was so exciting to work in a record store and be around all that kind of music. I tell you what really got me into the blues first. So I was 16 years old and I was working in the record store, and ZZ Hill did a record, Down Home Blues came out, and Someone Else Is Stepping In. That was 2 different records he did. 2 albums, I should say. And they were on the Malaco label. And working in the record store, we had to play in the record store. We had to put on what was popular at the time. So like when Michael Jackson's record came out, we had to play that. But I always wanted to put ZZ Hill on. And that's really the first blues record probably that I bought, was some of that Malaco stuff. Malaco records out of Jackson, Mississippi. And now Malaco, I'd say, the 2 premier labels in the States that I can think of right off the bat are Malaco and Alligator, of course. That's the 2 record companies that influenced me the most.
Cool.
Yeah, and they're both celebrating 50 years of excellence in blues music. Yeah, cool. I'm on the Yellow Dog label, celebrating probably 20 years of excellence in roots music.
And a train. Well, thank you.
Oh, thanks so much,
Luke.
Luke.
Thank you again.